The bird flu and raw cat food, what every pet owner needs to know. There is someone new in our family. Here is Cassie and the cat. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Oh, psst, 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 psst. He's a 4-year-old tabby. We just adopted him a few days ago. He came with the name Canyon, but we thought, he seems more like another name. So Cassian it's become. All he wants to do is have affection. He rubs up against you. He's being pretty tolerant. Yeah, he's moving his ears, but he's like, okay, you can hang on to me. And for those of you who might have known Murray would never let me do this to him. So wish him luck on YouTube. Are you looking to learn more about natural pet health and wellness? You've come to the right place. Click the link to subscribe to Veterinary Secrets. Last week, a story came out saying a cat from Oregon, it had died after eating cat food from this company. This is Northwest Naturals turkey recipe, raw diet for cats, complete and balanced. It was shown that the cat in question, he actually contacted avian influenza or the bird flu. He was a fully indoor cat, no other animals around. So it was clear that he got that bird flu from eating this pet food, the Northwest Naturals raw pet food. So knowing this and hearing this, I've had a whole pile of questions, and many pet parents are asking, like, is it safe to be feeding my animals, my dogs, and especially my cats, raw pet food? Like, what should I do? It seems to be of all the animals, cats would be the domestic one that is most at risk of contracting the bird flu. And in fact, in 2024, over 25 cats were reported to have contracted the bird flu. A number of those cats died, and that came from most commonly drinking unpasteurized milk. These are cats on dairy farms, and or it seems with some of the animals, contaminated pet food. Most of these animals are initially presenting with mild respiratory signs. Maybe runny eyes, maybe sneezing, maybe slight coughing. When there's something more serious such as the bird flu, there's this rapid progression, and many of these cats then get neurologic signs. Trembling, ataxia, wobbling, seizures. Some authorities are reporting that upwards of 3/4 of cats that get this bird flu are dying, meaning it's especially serious if it ever affects a cat. So should be cutting out all raw food, like such as this, the Northwest Natural raw turkey recipe. So exactly what happened. Obviously, there was a turkey that was sick with the bird flu, made its way into Northwest Naturals' raw turkey recipe. By not cooking it, essentially the virus is still active. This cat consumed some of that food, and he got clinically ill, and that's why he died. So then, just how safe is the food? Like, what is safe to feed? What should you not feed? Should you just go to good old safe science diet? And in fact, some of the stories coming out now, the experts are saying, stop feeding raw. Do not feed raw food to your cat. Feed freeze-dried raw. So what they're saying, if it says raw in it, don't feed it. That contain 100% mostly raw food. Not safe. What about freeze-dried? Isn't freeze-dried raw safe? Turns out they're saying, no, it's not safe either. Just because you freeze it, you just preserve the virus. If your cat consumes it, it's still potentially active. They say this is safe. Are there benefits of feeding raw? When I was in veterinary practice, anytime I saw an animal that was on a raw pet food, my general clinical experience, they were overall much healthier. Because of the elevated protein, most of these cats, these dogs, they were at a much healthier weight, right? They were at more than normal weight. They weren't dealing with obesity. Lower chance of some of the more serious chronic diseases. Less these animals, they were diabetic. Definitely want to go ahead and open their mouth and look at their teeth. These guys, they had much better dental health. And these same animals, my experience, lower incidences of arthritis. They weren't needing the anti-inflammatory drugs. So many of those big benefits that came from feeding raw. So you want some raw food, kitty? Yeah. Obviously, there are some risks from feeding raw food. Yes, there can be bacterial contamination, especially if there's cross-contamination, where someone hasn't properly prepared that food. But I found getting around much of that meant, number one, you make sure you yourself are washing your hands well. If you're chopping up, say, a piece of raw chicken, then before it's fed to your animal, it's frozen first overnight, then it's slowly defrosted, then that becomes part of his food. Doesn't even have a chance to have bacteria multiplying. There can be issues if it also involves bones. So one of the big ways to get around that is these bones are really chopped up finely, if you're able to do that, and or you eliminate the bones and you're just feeding that raw animal protein. And for many people, myself included, I found things like the pre-packaged frozen raw to be easy, be really convenient, and it allowed me to get around some of those other concerns. So the same experts, they're saying like, a company like these guys, Hills, their dry kibble, aka this stuff here, that's what's safe. Here, you don't have any concerns here. Really? That's safe? Well, obviously it's heavily marketed. Right? Sure. That's why they sell a whole lot of it. It's convenient. You don't have to keep it in the fridge. You don't have to keep it in the freezer. But we know that this dry commercial cat food is clearly linked to a host of other diseases. More of these cats are going to be obese. Far more than going to become diabetic because of the high carbohydrate content. Because it's this like dry, moisture, negative moisture food, these cats are going to be chronically dehydrated. We're seeing higher incidence of feline urinary tract disease because exactly what that problem is. They're not taking enough moisture. They're taking in far too many minerals. They concentrate in the urinary bladder, leading to things like uroliths and crystals, etc. So yes, you can feed this. It's convenient. No, your cat won't get the bird flu from it. So if I feed this to Cass here, yeah, it's convenient for me. Kitty cat, I'll probably eat it. I don't know, what do you think of that, Cass? Or not? But he's far more likely to get sick, to get urinary tract disease, to become obese, to become a diabetic, which I don't want him to do. So yeah, he's not beating this. So obviously, yes, the raw food does carry a certain amount of risk. Hence this cat getting the bird flu. And yes, there's a risk of secondary bacterial contamination. But I would say for the majority of animals, for the majority of cats, the benefits of feeding raw food way outweigh any of those so-called risks. But clearly now it's a different time. I would never imagine that we would see that we'd see a cat eating, he's got some commercial food, you've got it from the pet supply store, and he ends up with the bird flu. So obviously now it's slightly different. So what happened? How did the bird flu get in here? And secondarily, what do you do now? What exactly should you be feeding your cat? And that potentially dead, dying, diseased animal made its way into this pet food. And going back and doing my research on the company, it's a pretty well thought out company. It's something they would have made a big point to ensure that did not happen. Somehow with the supplier, somebody overlooked a sick animal, made its way into the food. And now is a great time to ask me because we've got a new cat in the house. Knowing all that I know, what do I feed? Well, when I see a pet food that's contaminated by a company that's pretty diligent, makes me think okay, you can never be 100% sure. Even though, and I'm going to be going back to raw pet food, for right now, seeing what's just happened, I'm going to be really cautious. I'm going to suggest avoiding it. I'm going to avoid it for Cass. So no, I'm not going to be feeding him Northwest Naturals or any other similar pet food. I'm going to avoid giving him this, the freeze-dried raw. But I'm sure not going to give him this, dry crappy Hills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition him from this. He's now on mostly this. This is First Mate's cage-free chicken formula. It's high protein, minimal carbohydrate, but it's cooked chicken. So my general suggestion is, now don't go to this commercial stuff like Hills. But if you have a cat that is on kibble, you're not able to get them onto canned food, or it's just not something you can afford. For now, just ensure that it's not raw. If it is a kibble, that it's a cooked chicken, it's a cooked turkey. You won't even eat this anymore after the canned food. Is it gonna stay like this? No. Will this be reassessed in the next 2 to 3 months as the so-called authorities, aka the FDA, etc., get a better hold on this and exactly figure out how serious it is with potentially the bird flu, these contaminated poultry within our pet food? Yes, it's not going to stay that. But for now, you just don't know how diligent the authorities are, how easy or not it is to determine if that turkey, if that chicken has been contaminated and he's dead, deceased, or he's just dying and he's making his way into pet food. I just think for right now, it's better to be a little bit more cautious and avoid any potential source of contamination and go with a pet food that's going to involve cooked poultry. And as you can see from the little taste test here, Cass the cat, he is way more excited about this canned cat food than he is about the dry science diet. What do you think, kitty cat? Here. Oh, for you. Oh, just go for the can. Oh, yummy. The other thing will be to ensure that YouTube Dr. Jones doesn't overfeed his cat and give him a weight problem. But yes, oh, it's so much better, kitty. And as you can see, Cass the cat loves his pen cut food. Click up there to subscribe, hit the bell to sign up for notifications. If you click that link directly in the box below, I can send you a copy of my free book.